So the first two episodes of the Rings of Power TV show dropped. I finally watched them and I wanted to share my thoughts and opinions on the first two episodes and the whole idea and premise of the show as a whole. Now, before we get started, I want you to understand I am not a fan of The Lord of the Rings, not be it the movies or the books. Maybe one day I'll explain all the stupid in the Lord of the Rings movies if I can stay awake long enough. But as for the books, they are a dry read and they are a chore to get through. And they are, and to be honest, they are more a tour guide of Middle Earth than than it is an actual story. I always used to say that Tolkien shouldn't have called it The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien should have just called the books The Tour Guide of Middle Earth, books 1, 2, and 3. Because that's all they are. I hate to break it to you. That's all they are. Oh, and for any aspiring writers out there, if you're interested in how to write and create a character whose main purpose in the book is to be plot advancement, might I recommend studying Gandalf as a great example of that, seeing as how that's pretty much what Tolkien used him for anyway. Sorry. Now, the reason I am explaining all this is I want to establish I am not a Tolkien fanboy. I do not consider The Lord of the Rings the holy scripture of fantasy literature. Meaning, I will not be going into this show wondering and pointing out how this show is straying from the source material, how it is desecrating the source material like so many people are pretending they actually give a damn about. And I'm going to rant a little bit, but bear with me. I want this this is an important point because the same people who are pretending that they give a rat's ass about this show deviating from the source material none of them gave a rat's ass when Peter Jackson's The Hobbit movies or the Hobbit trilogy desecrated its relation to the source material. Okay? I want that understood. All of these people who are pretending that they give a rat's ass about how this show may or may not be being faithful to the source material are the same people who didn't give a rat's ass that the Hobbit trilogy wasn't faithful to the source material either. I just want to establish how these individuals are hypocritical bullshit artists. And somebody needs to point this out. And I figured I might as well do it because nobody else is. And it's because I'm here for you. I do this for you. It's just the kind of guy I am. Now, in regards to the show as a whole, the idea that it had a set 5-season run to me is a giant plus for the show because it meant it had a beginning, a middle, and an established end and actually would work to that. It wasn't going to be a show where, okay, we got 2 seasons. How do we keep stretching the story? Let's make up stuff to keep this show going. Meaning, everything that happens in this show happens because the writers of this show already planned it, set it up, and worked it out. And as an example, let's say in season 3, Galadriel ends up encountering Smaug, the dragon, right? Now, I'll know, for me, I'll know that the reason Galadriel is encountering Smaug is because the writers of this show already planned it and already set it up and already established what was going to happen because of that. As opposed to the night before, the writers were having a beer and going, hey, our ratings are dropping. What can we do to, increase our ratings, our viewership? And one other guy and another writer goes, hey, here's an idea. Why don't we have Galadriel encounter Smaug and see how that works out? For me, knowing that everything that happens in this show was already prepared and worked out and planned adds more of an authenticity to the story than it would if it was just made up. As opposed to as if it was made up as the show went along. So for me, that's why knowing that the show is already a pre-established, pre-planned 5-season show is an advantage for me in regards to this show. However, this is gonna get sticky. This show also has a big issue. I have a big issue with this story, with this show. Now, this is my issue. This is an issue I have. I am not expecting anybody else to share or have the same problem that I have in regards to this show. Now, I have no incentive to watch this show. I really don't. The closest I have to an incentive to watch this show is to see what a pathetic mess it's going to be. Because here's the thing. Even though I am not a Tolkien fanboy, even though I am not a fan of the Lord of the Rings books, though I am a fan of The Hobbit, I've always loved The Hobbit. So I'm separating The Hobbit with the Lord of the Rings. Even though I'm not a fan of the Lord of the Rings, I still respect the author. I still respect his works. So if I am going to read or watch a show or a movie that is based off of the works of Tolkien, it sure as hell better be written by Tolkien. Because I really don't give a rat's ass what the two schmucks who co-created the show have to say. I don't care what they think. I don't give a rat's ass about their fanfic about what happened in the Second Age with Galadriel and Elrond. I don't give a damn. As an example, I am a big Robert E. Howard fanboy. I love the Conan books, written by Robert E. Howard. I have most of them written by Robert E. Howard, and the ones co-written by L. Sprague de Camp, because I like his versions. I don't like the other ones. But he co-wrote Conan stories from unfinished manuscripts and notes left by Robert E. Howard. Any Conan book not written by Robert E. Howard, any Conan book not written based off of any manuscript or unfinished manuscript or notes by Robert E. Howard, I couldn't give a rat's ass. I have no interest in reading. What was it? Robert Jordan or something ended up doing some books. You think I don't give a rat's ass what Robert Jordan's interpretation or stories of Conan are? Unless it's a Conan book, a story written or co-written by Robert E. Howard, I don't give a shit about anything, whether it's a TV show or whatever. Now, obviously, in regards to Tolkien, he didn't do that. There are no unfinished unfinished manuscripts that these two guys who are, co-created the show to work on. And unfortunately, I believe Amazon only got the rights to The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They don't have access. They don't have permission with the Unfinished Tales. They don't have permission with the Silmarillion and a few other books. I understand that. Tough shit. Tough. Too bad. I don't care. That's not my problem, guys. That's your problem. And you know what? Here's the thing. These guys know it. These guys know that there's no reason for anybody to watch their Tolkien fanfic. So to compensate for it, that's why this show has such a high production value. It's so that they can make this show as visually beautiful as possible to actually incentivize anybody to even watch this show. I mean, seriously, who really is going, who's going, ooh, I want to watch The Rings of Power because I am so interested in seeing these two schmucks Tolkien fanfic? No, it's because that's why they're promoting, that's why this show is promoting how much money was put into it to establish that, hey, yes, we know it's these two schmucks Tolkien fanfic, but look how beautiful it looks. Now, I might have given the impression that I went into this show with a slight negative bias. Well, you're damn right I did. Sorry, but here's the kicker. That doesn't mean anything if the show ends up impressing me. As an example, Star Trek Lower Decks. I went into that show with a much bigger negative bias than I did going into, Rings of Power. But here's the thing. I actually like Star Trek Lower Decks. It's one of my favorite Star Trek series. Sorry, I mean, hell, it's better than Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds, I'll tell you that. I mean, I like it a little bit better than Voyager and Prodigy. I mean, I like Prodigy, but whatever. The point is that I go into shows with an open mind. Even though I might have a negative bias going in, that doesn't mean anything if the show ends up impressing me. So, let's talk about the first two episodes of The Rings of Power. Unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, this show was the empty shell of a show I expected it to be. Because one of the biggest problems with this show is it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain anything. I mean, things happen in this show because they happen because the show needs them to happen. And they don't have any and they don't explain why it happens because they don't have an explanation for why it happens. They don't know why it happens. They just need it. And the other reason they don't explain it is so that way they can have it work however they want it to work without having to worry about it. I'll give a perfect example. The sigil. The sigil, okay? What's the sigil? Why did Sauron put the sigil on Galadriel's brother? We don't know. Neither does the show. When they go to the tower. I will try to establish some level of structure. I'm going to try not to go all over the place as much as I usually do. In the tower, why is there the sigil on that stone block? No reason. Literally no reason. But here's the other thing about the sigil, okay? How does it work? What's the point of it? Well, according to Galadriel, in the beginning of episode 1, when she talks about the sigil, she goes, even the wisest elves don't know what it means or don't know what it's about or what it's for. And then 10 minutes later, she's at the tower and she sees the sigil on the rock and goes, oh, that's used as a marker for the orcs to follow. And it's like, what? How did you know that? How did you know that, Galadriel? Apparently, the wisest elves in the realm didn't know what it means, but you suddenly figured out it's used as a marker? That's what I mean by the show doesn't actually explain what anything is, so that way they can make it mean whatever they want it to make it mean in whatever scene they have it in. But even with that, even with Galadriel saying that it was used as a marker, that still doesn't make any sense. Because then why did Sauron put the sigil on her brother? What? Was it used as a marker for the orcs as well? It's like, even when the show tries to give a reason or an explanation for something that happens in the show, it still doesn't work. It still doesn't work. It still doesn't make any sense. Same thing with the tunnels. The orcs are digging tunnels. Why? Why are they digging tunnels? Apparently, in the other, in episode 2, that guy that's on the boat with her, they ransacked his village. He didn't mention anything about tunnels. They ransacked the village. Why are they ransacking one village, but in other villages, they're digging tunnels? Because the show wants them to have tunnels. They don't have an explanation or a reason why the orcs are making tunnels, because then they would have to actually justify what's going on. Which is why, what's his name? Aaron Deer's girlfriend. I forget her name. Brow something, I don't care. She's at the house with her son, and for some reason, a single lone orc comes through and just happened to be going through the tunnel system just under the house. The tunnel doesn't actually have an explanation. It's just there so that if the show wants just a lone orc to just suddenly appear, it's a magical tunnel that does that. Hell, if in episode 3 they wanted that suddenly 200 orcs are in that tunnel and suddenly, emerge into the town, guess what? It's a magic tunnel that has as many orcs as the show needs it to have. That is what I mean by things happen because they happen because the show wants them to happen and doesn't explain anything. Like with I'll get to the tower. Okay. Now I'm also gonna be mentioning what I would classify as little stupids. They're not big plot holes or they are plot convenience and stuff, but they're little stupid. And the reason I'm bringing them up is because there is so many of them. And the problem with that is because there's so many little problems, it's hard for me to take this show seriously if the show isn't taking itself seriously. As an example, in the tower, it is a simple thing. It really is. Galadriel and one of her troops enter that room where the rock is, where the sigil is, right? And they're walking. Now, again, in this room, there is a constant light snowfall. Now, it isn't until Galadriel goes towards, is near the rock, and for some bullshit, stupid, pulled out of their ass reason, one particular snowflake, because apparently that's the one that Galadriel for some reason Galadriel is suddenly focusing on one particular snowflake, and as that snowflake hits the rock, it sizzles. And it's like, okay, that's cool, not a problem. Except here's the problem. Why aren't any of the other snowflakes that are landing on the rock, why aren't they sizzling? Why isn't any of the other snowflakes that are landing in the exact same spot or were landing in the exact same spot as that one particular snowflake, why didn't they sizzle when they landed on the rock? Like, how do the writers of this show not realize how stupid it is? And the reason it doesn't even make any sense is that it shouldn't have even been a problem. Like, why couldn't the show have it that all the snowflakes that landed on the rock sizzled? Why not just have it that when Galadriel and one of her troops enters the room, they scan the room and you see that there's the rock and all of the snowflakes that are landing on the rock are sizzling? We as an audience would be going, okay, that's interesting. Galadriel, you might want to check that out. Galadriel will scan the room, sees that there's this rock with all the snowflakes sizzling when it lands on it. She'll go, okay, I'm obviously going to check that out. That would work, and then go to it, put the water on it and still it would still be the exact same results, only it would actually, I don't know, make sense. It would actually work. It's a stupid because it's a stupid that didn't even need to actually happen. In regards to the sigil, so she sees the sigil, sees the sigil and goes, okay, we need to go, keep further north. And it's like, how do you know that? Like, how does seeing the sigil somehow establish you now need to go further north? No reason, because the show doesn't have one. But here's the kicker about it. Because later on in the episode, Galadriel is speaking to Elrond about talking to the king to give her more troops. And Galadriel goes, if I don't have more troops, then I'll go it alone. Really, Galadriel? You'll go it alone, will you? Except, here's the thing. Earlier, when you were at the tower with the rock and your troops decided to mutiny and go back home, well, why did you go back home? According to you, you were ready and willing to go it alone. So, okay, at the tower, when the troops decided that they were going home, why didn't you keep going? According to you, you would go it alone if you have to. Apparently, no, you won't. This show literally establishes that Galadriel is full of shit. Sorry, it's not. Don't blame me. Blame the show. Then we have Galadriel jumping into the water. And it's like, okay, what exactly is your plan, dumbass? You're in the middle of the ocean. What are you supposed to do? But here's the beautiful part of this. Here's the thing. We as an audience are going, it doesn't matter. We know that the show is going to incorporate a plot convenience so that a boat of some kind or a ship of some kind is going to end up showing up anyway. Like this is how cliche and pathetic this show is. We as an audience know that a plot convenience is going to come along to be able to save Galadriel because the show knows that that's what it's going to have to do anyway. The show has Galadriel jump off the boat into the middle of the ocean. And the show's going, well, how are we going to have it that Galadriel gets saved? Oh, don't worry. We'll just incorporate a plot convenience that causes her to get saved. That's how pathetic and empty this show is story-wise. Then we get, I love this. So we have it that she's on the raft or whatever, right? The worm comes in, apparently destroys the boat except for just small little section with the sail and the rudder and the guy. It's whatever. It's such plot convenience. It's like, please, like, how am I supposed to take this show seriously? But here was the thing that got me, because so Galadriel and the guy, the human, are talking, and the guy ends up explaining about the orcs or whatever that ransacked his village, and Galadriel is going to him, okay, you're gonna tell me where they are and you're gonna lead me there. And it's like, hey, dumbass, you're in the middle of the ocean. Actually going after the orcs should be part 7 of your plan. Part 1 of your plan should be finding how to get out of the predicament you're in. It's like, this show is going, we know that Galadriel is going to get saved, so we don't even have to have Galadriel be concerned about having to be saved. She's already 3 steps ahead. It's like, and then, of course, they fall asleep and they wake up, and at the end of the episode, there's a ship there to save them. Wow, what a twist. I didn't see that coming. Did you? What else? Oh, the cow. I want to talk about the cow. I love the cow. The reason I love the cow, as silly as that sounds, is that it is one of the best examples to show the brain dead stupid that is necessary in this show. So a farmer brings a sick cow to Browen, and Arendir is there, and the cow was sick. It is deduced that the cow was sick because the cow ate poisoned grass, the poisoned grass that was mentioned earlier in episode 1. And the poisoned grass came from Horden. Now, the idea of this scene with the cow is to get Arendir and Browen to Horden. Except here's the funny part. Here's the part that I love about the cow scene so much, is that according to Arendir, Horden is a day's travel. So let me see if I get this straight, Show. For some reason, this farmer's cow traveled a day's journey to get to Horden, ate some poisoned grass, and then took another entire day's worth of travel to get back to the village. Really, Show, really. You want to know what I love? Here's the other thing that I love about the cow scene. If I have to explain to you the stupid of what just happened, you are this show's target audience. Congratulations. It's like, because apparently the cow had to journey an entire day's worth of travel to get to Horden, because for some reason between the village and Horden, there was no other grass that this cow seemed to find worth eating. Had to wait until he got to Horden to eat it. Then, after having his fill, goes, you know what? I think they might be missing me back at the village. I think I'll go travel back. Apparently, the farmer didn't realize that when the farmer goes to Browen, he doesn't mention that, oh, by the way, the cow was missing for 2 days, because that's what would have had to have happened. But here's the other thing. It's like the cow, you know what? In the Fellowship of the Ring, in the Fellowship of the Ring, instead of giving the ring to Frodo, they should have given the ring to the cow, because apparently the cow can travel through Middle Earth, through what apparently is supposed to be orc-infested lands, and apparently doesn't seem to have any problems. No wild animals, no trolls, no nothing. Elrod should have just given a cow the ring, and apparently they would have been able to get to Mordor, because apparently these cows seem to be able to travel Middle Earth without a problem and without any issues. I know I'm making a big deal out of it. That's the point, is that this show is trying to go that, no, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing there's nothing here that doesn't make any sense. Yes. No, there is stuff here that doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm pointing it out. And the other thing is, this is what the show could come up with to get Arendir to get to Horden. That's what it could come. That's the best it could come up with. How about have it that a bunch of people from Horden escaped, made it to the village they're in, and kind of mentioned how their village was attacked by orcs? Gee, what does that is that too simplistic? Wait, you know what the problem is with that? That actually makes sense. That actually works. That doesn't require stupid to make it actually happen. Just have some survivors from Horden make it to the village and mention how their village was attacked by orcs. That's all it takes. It's not just that it's stupid that didn't even need to actually happen, which is unfortunately a running theme in this show. Oh, another scene that I really loved, that I thought was hilarious, was the elves versus the snow troll. So you have the troop and you have Galadriel. Now, apparently, you have to understand they are two separate individuals in regards to this scene. Because the elves that attack the snow trolls are... apparently, the elves during the Second Age are a lot less agile and mobile than the elves in the Third Age. Because the elves fighting the snow trolls are just kind of like standing there so that the snow troll can just throw rocks at them, grab them, kill them, and punch them. Apparently elves in the Second Age aren't very, active. They just kind of stand there. Not only that, apparently the fighting skills of elves in the Second Age pretty much suck compared to the elves in the Third Age. The only person that has any fighting skill among the elven warriors is Galadriel, because she basically kills the snow troll all on her own. It's like, well, here's the thing that I love about it. The elves in the Second Age are less effective against a troll. Elven warriors in the Second Age are less effective against a troll than 4 hobbits fresh off the farm. Because the 4 hobbits in the I think it was the Fellowship of the Ring movie. In the Lord of the Rings movie, I can't remember which one it was. Because the 4 hobbits in the Lord of the Rings movie, when they go up against the cave troll, are actually more effective than elven warriors from the Second Age. It's just, it is so blatantly pathetic. It is just so sad. Because the show can't actually have the elven troops and the elven warriors be effective against the cave troll, because then how else can the show have Galadriel have her moment? Here's an idea. Have 2 snow trolls, you dumbass show. Have the troop of elven warriors fight 1 snow troll while you have Galadriel and maybe another and one other troop member fighting the other snow troll. That way you can show that the elven warriors are actually have the ability to move around and swing a goddamn weapon. It takes 7 elven warriors to take down a snow troll, but Galadriel is basically just as good as 7 elven warriors, and Galadriel can take down a snow troll by herself. But it's like again, it's such a simple fix for bullshit stupid. The Stranger. Here's another example of this show not explaining anything. Where did the Stranger come from? Why did the Stranger have to land in a fireball? Why is the Stranger confused? Why does the Stranger not know what to do and where to go? Why can't the Stranger speak any Middle-earthen tongue? Because the show can't explain any of that, because the show wants it that the only reason that the Stranger is there is so that you can keep watching to actually wonder what the hell is going on with the Stranger. Now, here's the thing, and I'm probably gonna screw up explaining this properly, so bear with me, and I apologize if I don't do it right. The thing with this show is, especially with the first 2 episodes and what seems to be what's going to happen in season 1, is every episode is all about establishing questions so that you can, because when I gave you those questions about why did the Stranger, why did he come down from a fireball? Where did he come from? Why is he confused? The show will never answer those questions, because the show doesn't care. The whole point of The Stranger is to be not a red herring, but I guess maybe the closest thing I could think of is like a plot device to keep you wanting to keep watching to find out who the heck the stranger is. And the idea is, I can understand the defense being, well, it's the first season. They're not going to answer all the questions. The idea is to keep watching the show to find out what's going on. Except here's the thing. This is a 5-season show. What you're supposed to do in the beginning is not have questions for the audience to answer. The first season, the first couple of episodes, is meant to build the foundation of the story you're telling. The whole idea of a beginning of a story is to establish a foundation that the story is going to take place in. And guess what? It still doesn't stop the idea of asking questions to keep you wanting to figure out what happens by watching the next episode. In regards to The Stranger, have it that we at least know where the stranger came. Like, there's no reason we can't know where the stranger came from. There's no reason why we can't know why the stranger came to Earth. And then the idea is to follow the stranger to see, oh, I don't know, does he get to do what he wants to do? The question isn't who is the stranger. The question is, does the stranger get to do what he wants to do? Sorry, this show is literally the first 2 episodes, and from what I can gather, the first season is nothing more than clickbait to get you to watch the next show, the next episode, just so that they can provide more questions to make you want to watch the next episode. I'm calling it right now. All of the questions that I'm bringing up in this video will never be answered because the show doesn't have an answer and doesn't need to bother, because by episode 4, all of the questions you guys had in about episode 1 or episode 2, you forgot. You're not going to remember the questions. By the time the show's over, you think you're going to be going, hey, how come they never actually explained where the stranger came from? You're not going to care. The show knows you don't care, so they don't have to bother. Don't forget, this show isn't geared to guys like me as their target audience. This show's target audience are you brain-dead morons who don't have the ability to actually question anything. Sorry, hate to break it to you. So I am going to treat this show as the type of show it's designed to be. It is a show that is designed to appeal to a target audience of brain-dead morons who don't question, who don't care, and and it doesn't matter anyway. So if the show doesn't, if the show knows that they have a target audience who don't know and who don't care, why should they bother explaining anything? Hence why I established that this show is the empty shell of a Tolkien fanfic that I assumed it was going to be before I even saw the first episode. Anyway, was there anything else? Oh yeah, something, shoot, the Elvin Smith goes to Elrod. I want to build a tower, but I need help. And it's like, why? Because I need to have it built by spring. Why? Why does it need to be built by spring? Does Elrod ask the Elvin Smith, why does it need to be built by spring? No reason, because we need to have it so that we force Elrod's hands to go and make an alliance with the dwarves. That's why it needs to be built by spring. The show can't say that. The show can't explain the reason that Elvin Smith wants the towers built by spring is so that I can force your hand, Elrod, to go have an alliance with the dwarves. Because the fact that it's so blatant. It is so in your face, bullshit, stupid that the show doesn't care. The show has things happen because they need it to happen, because that's what the show needs to have happen. It doesn't matter how stupid it is. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, because it doesn't have any answers to any of the questions of why anything is happening anyway. Anyway, I'm getting into rambling territory here, and yeah, that's the first 2 episodes of this dumbass show, and I have a very strong feeling it is going to be my last video on the Rings of Power, unless something really stupid happens in upcoming episodes that I want to point and laugh at and establish how full of stupid this show is, just so I can piss off the fans of this show, because that's just what I do. Because fans of this show, fans of the Rings of Power, I do this for you. I'm here for you. It's just the kind of guy I am. Because somebody needs to point out the brain dead stupid of this show, and it's not like you're gonna figure it out on your own. Anyway, I'm out of here. See ya.